So I'm going to share with you our superpower. And as I said, this idea is around behavioural science. It's understanding your audience. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to unleash your digital performance. So behavioural science isn't something that if you go and apply it to what you already do, is going to overnight take you from here to here and it's going to be all amazing. It's not about that. It's those incremental changes. It's improving the small things that gradually build up to the big things. And for me, this is this kind of unleashing performance that sometimes people don't realise they're missing out on. It's not always obvious. It's not, oh, we want to rank for this and we can see the numbers. They don't know that they're missing out on it. Now, vanity metrics are super dangerous. I think a few people have talked about vanity metrics today. And these are the metrics where your boss, your client, somebody's come up with a number that they've got super excited about and they're chasing. And you're like, oh, no, please don't mention that number again, because it's not the number. It's not the one we should be chasing. Now, we have to have our big money metrics. We've got to think about ROI. I'm in a room full of e-commerce experts. We've got to think about ROI. It's so important. And it's a given. But someone once told me, and I can't remember who, so I feel bad for this person, but many moons ago when I was first learning about digital marketing, that if it's easy to measure, it probably isn't that valuable. Now, we know ROI is valuable, but I think what my interpretation of this is, I think about things around leading and lagging indicators. So a lagging indicator is ROI. Well, we're looking backwards. It's the number we've achieved. It's we hit target or we didn't hit target, or we made the money, we didn't make the money. We can't change it at the point that we're looking at ROI. The leading indicators are everything that lead up to that point. And they're the things, they're the dials that we can start to turn up and down and test and experiment with to improve the ROI number at the end. So for me, when it comes to reporting, sanity can be found in building a strategy that's for your business, though. So I guess the tough thing about what I'm going to say today is, although I'll give you these slides, you can't copy and paste what I say and you've got all the answers. You have to go and build this for your business. You have to, we can't all go and do the same thing. We can't do exactly what each other's doing. It has to be built for you because the metrics that matter and the metrics that turn the dial are personalized to your business. And this might be a shock. I love this monkey guy. But to plan your metrics well, you need to start really far away from the tools, which for anyone that's had GA4 hell this year, you'll be really pleased to hear. We don't need to talk about GA4 right now. You'll have to go there eventually. But right now, we're not worried about what the tools can tell us. We have to start by thinking about your audience. Now, customer experience is everything. And this photo is one of my favorites. If you've ever seen one of my talks, I bring it up all the time. But this completely brings to life what customer experience is, because someone spent time designing this pathway, thinking about how humans, how we might want to move around, and we've gone and broken it. We break a lot of things, don't we, as humans? But the thing is, what we then need to say is, well, we found a shortcut. Humans found the shortcut. And actually, bringing this back into the marketing world, we need to know what those shortcuts are. And we need to optimize the shortcuts. And it's okay, we can't be upset and embarrassed that the one we built didn't work, but we want to know what our customers are doing. So before you even begin to plan your tracking, there's some things that you need to know. So you need to know who your audience are. And I don't just mean demographically. You got to get deep, and I'll give you some examples in a minute. And you want to know where they go, where they're spending their time, where they're hanging out, where they're lurking online, chatting to friends, what networks they're using, what websites they go to. And you want to know how they move through the sales funnel. And I'm so pleased there's been some great talks today that included the sales funnel, because that means I don't need to spend too long on it. We all know it. We can add lots of different steps into it. But this is your obvious traditional funnel. And as Florian brought to life brilliantly earlier with the messy middle, it doesn't just look like this. It looks like this. And it is messy. And the more we can pick out those messy points, and the more we can find those shortcuts, we start to find different metrics that we should be measuring. There's another way that I look at it as well, though, putting my behavioural science hat on. And I came up with this idea around the human funnel. And I won't walk you through all of it because we won't have enough time today. But if I just take what I've replaced awareness with, and if you imagine And this has to, again, be personalised for your business. But if you imagine, so say you're selling a product, that awareness phase starts maybe 6 weeks out from purchase. People have got to think about it. I don't know, maybe it's even longer than that. Maybe you're buying a car and you've got lots of research to do. It's a big purchase. When we think about behavioural science and the human behind this, we know they're not going to buy today, so we definitely don't want to be pushing the sale immediately. But what we do know is that we need to be memorable, because we know it's going to take them time. For some people it might be 2 weeks, some it might be 6 weeks. If it's my husband, like the second he's bought a car, he's already been dreaming about his next car, so it could be a couple of years. So we've got to be memorable. So then we need to think about how can we make sure the content that they engage with in that awareness phase is memorable, so that when they move further down the funnel, and hopefully we'll have lots of other touch points with them between that start and end, but how do we make sure that we come back to mind? Because otherwise we wasted all of our effort up here and we might as well have not been there. And some of the ways you can do that is by disrupting the person, grabbing their attention, evoking emotion. We remember things when we feel something. If we don't feel anything, we're not so likely to remember it. So I'm going to tell you a really quick story which just sets up the rest of the talk. And recently we started working with a new client, and we always ask them, why did you leave your last agency? And they cited performance. And we're like, okay, cool. So then we start digging in, and it was really sad because actually the performance was pretty awesome. And the agency previously had done a really good job. Have you ever had that, like, especially from our agency people in the room? You've lost a client and you're like, but I'm doing great work. But what they'd done wrong is the client was thinking about this metric, and they were optimizing over here for these metrics, but they hadn't really put the two together. So the client was getting super upset that they weren't achieving ROI. But SEO at this point for this client was working all in the awareness phase, and it was driving ROI, but it was hard to see. The metrics that really mattered, though, were much more around engagement and grabbing attention and getting them to watch videos and downloads, and they were doing all the right things, but they hadn't articulated it properly. And that's super dangerous, whether you're an agency or whether you're an in-house team and it's to your boss. So we want to get this right. So how do you understand your audience? And how do you understand the sales funnel? So the process that we follow, that you can take away from today, but this is your homework, so I haven't done it all for you, but is starting with customer research. So you need to uncover from your audience what motivates them, what drives them, what are their fears, what are their concerns, what excites them, what gets them going, what stops them progressing, what slows the process, what makes it from 6 weeks to 12 weeks before they buy. What enables them? What pushes them to buy quicker? Who they go to for advice? Where they go to for advice? Who do they trust? And so on. I mean, I could keep listing them. There's so much that we want to understand because these are people. They're humans. They're like all of us. So how do you do this research? So these are some of the ways that we do it. It's not the exhaustive list. We wouldn't necessarily do all of this at once. We might do all of it once. It depends on budget, and it depends what you already know. So you should never go in and say, we've got to start all this research. First of all, it's what do you know? Let's start with where we're at. But it could be audience surveys. Could it be to your current audience? It could be to a potential new audience. It could be social listening, client persona workshops. I think Sophie this morning talked about getting customer services involved. They are an absolute amazing resource of information that we so often forget about, that are talking to customers all day, every day, be it on live chat, be it on Twitter, be it answering the telephone, old school. They're amazing. Get them in a room, talk to them about the audience. But it's all these different ways, and what we want to get these down to is to creating some digital personas. And they might be overall personas, but if we're thinking about it for the online journey, we're going to get really specific into digital, where they're spending time, where they're going, etc., what they're looking for. And then we start to plot it into their user journey. So alongside this, you've then got to conduct your in-depth channel research. Now, you might think you know lots of this, but go back to basics because you want to do this across each of the different personas. And this is just a starter for 10, so considering but not limited to, and we've got some formatting fun there, but keywords, it could be understanding search trends, it could be audience insights, it could be how within the different social channels that we can bucket users and target them. It could be digital PR. It's definitely got to be a current performance audit. But it's also competitors, partners, retailers. You want to really understand the market space, understand who's winning, who's where, who's already answering some of these questions that maybe we're not. And you're using these kind of tools. These are some of my favorite, but there's tons of tools. We've got some amazing tool providers here today as well. So it's finding the right tool for you that gives you the right data in the right format that you can use. Now then, I've got the upper hand here because I've got Kieran. She's our behavioural strategist. She heads up our team. So she does a lot of magic for us. But if you don't have one, you can still do this. You've got to get your cape on, though, and it's definitely pulling out your superpowers, because you need to start to knit this information together, start to see how it comes together. So you've got all of this customer insight. You've got all of this research from channels, competitors, retailers. You want to now start to create this into a customer journey. So you want to start to see for each persona. So this isn't one customer journey. This is each of these different personas that you've identified that are grouped by motivation, grouped by similarities, not grouped by female age 30 to 40, because we all know within that group, they could all have tons of different motivations. So for each persona, you're going to start to understand their thoughts. What is it they're thinking? Their actions, what is it they're doing? The touch points, where they're going, what they're looking for. Their emotional journey, is it high, low, where are they at? How are they feeling? Are they frustrated? Behavioural insights, things that you might want to know around memorability, etc. Channel opportunities, so starting to see the opportunities across the different channels. Think, feel, do, I'm going to come back to in a minute. And then KPIs, you might start to surface some things that you think it would be interesting to know. How many people do this? How many people do that? Watch this, download that. And then you start to map the priority for your channels, because you start to see how the channels work together. Because we should never be thinking about channels in silos. We should always be looking together. I always use the analogy of thinking of a user like a baton in a relay race. And your race lane is here, and you've picked the customer up in awareness. You want to keep every touch point till they buy as much as possible in your race lane, talking to your brand, giving them the answers, holding their hand, being their best friend, because you're going to be so much more likely to achieve that conversion at the end. And then I alluded to this a minute ago. So thinking about the think, feel, do model. So this is putting yourself into the customer's shoes and understanding what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what they're trying to do. And when you do that, the think is going to tell you what the content needs to convey, because what they're thinking about. The feel gives you the storytelling. It tells you what emotions you need around this content. And the do tells you what you need to track. So our customers are doing the hard work for us. They're telling, if we know what the customer's trying to do, well, we want to track that, because we want to know that if to get to conversion, they've got to do these things, are we helping them do it? So the critical link here is that the do is driving the tracking, but then you need to socialize this in the business. You can't just make these decisions that now we're less bothered about ROI, I care about these things, without bringing everyone else with you. And what everyone needs to understand is it's not your crazy idea. This has come from the customer. So we're starting to turn our business to be an outside-in organization. We are listening to our customer, and that's who's making our decisions. We're not sitting around a boardroom table saying, well, I think the pathway should go here and here, and then we're missing the mark because they're cutting the corner and missing us. We're listening, so we're outside in, not inside out. And without this, if we don't bring the stakeholders with us, we're going to end up with stakeholders with different ideas, and we'll be that poor SEO agency that we stole their client because everyone was thinking about the wrong thing and they weren't all aligned. So the really important message, though, that you then want to convey is that our audience behavior is what's defined our measures. But not just that, they've defined our journey. And on top of this, they've also helped us to see how the channels should work together to drive better results, how we keep that baton in our relay race. And to me, this is true customer centricity. It's truly making your strategy about your customers and your audience. And you're always going to have the ROI metrics. But the ROI metrics don't tell you how to fix or improve your strategy. They just give you the, oh, yeah, we made it, or the, oh, God, I've got to tell someone we didn't hit what we were supposed to hit. It's all the other things that are going to be your leading indicators that tell you whether you're likely to achieve that. But if you haven't surfaced them from your customers and you don't know what they are, you don't know how to track them. We're just going to keep trying to rank for this keyword and running these paid campaigns. So we want to know what is it they're trying to do. So the metrics that matter include everything up to the point of conversion. all of the different things the customer tries to do. And they're all the key moments in making the decision for the customer. So the penny drop moment here, the thing that you need to take away is that our audience tell us where we should be, what we should say, and what we should track. How good's that? Our audience do all our hard work for us. Yes, we've got to extract it from them, but they're doing all the thinking, because actually, who are we to tell them, oh, you should read this content here in this place? Where are they going for it? That's what we need to know. Oh, some of my slides are having fun today, aren't they? I say 48 hours notice gives me that. But this slide, and if you download these, you'll get them as a PDF. This just gives you an idea of like how you might present that as a high level of defining the roles of the different channels. But this is an example because this has to be yours. You can't take mine. Mine might not be right. It needs to be for your customers. And then what I've also given you, and I'll just flick through these so you've got them, but you've got some examples of the type of metrics. But again, these need to be your metrics. They're not mine, they're your customers. So you need to find what they might look like. But the great thing about having done all of this research is then you get the chance to bring your colleagues on the journey with you. Because as I said earlier, it's not your wacky idea. You haven't just gone crazy and said, that's it, I don't care about ROI, I care about these things. Your customers have told you this. They've told you this is what they want. You're actually creating a marketing strategy for your customers. But your business needs are baked in because we are aiming for ROI. We haven't gone completely crazy. So I said we love behavioural science, and there's been a bit of it baked in so far, but I just wanted to give you a couple of nudges to help you get buy-in, because it's really difficult sometimes. You might be agency side, you might be internal, trying to get your boss to care about this, and if you go to them saying, I want us to focus less on ROI and I want to think about these things, they might think you're crazy. So we need to make sure we build the story right. So one of the first nudges is availability bias. So we remember what's easy to remember in our minds, what's close in our memory, and we're biased by what we know individually. And I don't know what you know, and you don't know what I know unless we're telling each other. So you need to unlock the information for them. You don't just go to them and say, these are our new metrics. You share some of the journey you've been on. And maybe as the journey's going, so that they're bought into the project, because this doesn't happen overnight. We've been working with the client all year on this, and we're only just getting to really having mapped it, because 5 different audiences, tons of different channels, lots of different stakeholders, and lots of research. So it's not a slow process. So you unlock the information, but you share it in a language that resonates. Turn it into business language. Don't muddle them with some of our digital marketing speak and terms that might confuse them. Make this business language. Make it your customer's language. And make it relevant. Show them examples and talk to them in a way. Because I think sometimes when we're in businesses, we can so easily forget what it's like to be the customer. We've just kind of got our numbers and what we're trying to do in our mind. But get them back in the customer's shoes. We've also got confirmation bias. So confirmation bias is that we're looking for snippets of information that we can confirm with what we already know that makes sense to us. So you probably will already be able to tell what you think your boss might say about this. You've probably already got an idea of, I know how they'll respond. So how do you head that off? How do you stop that from happening? How in your storytelling of bringing all the work that you've done to life, do you not give them the chance, or be ready for them if they've got that concern or that blocker? And then we've got herding. We love to follow others. We don't like to be on our own. We like to be with others. So think like a politician. Like if anyone's ever watched any of the political dramas, they never go into a room without making sure they've got some friends that are going to back them up and already are bought into what they're saying. So if you're presenting to a wider group, bring your allies with you. Get a few people on side already so that they already are like, I love it. I'm with you. So you're not going to sit in a room with a load of people that go, oh, that's new information, I'm not sure. Have those people with you. But also think about whether you can use any competitor insight to support your case. So can you use anything from your competitors? Can you spot things that they're doing that are similar to where you want to take your strategy that might help create that case? Because then you create FOMO and they start to think, oh, hold on, if so-and-so's doing this, we need to be doing it. And we're nearly there. Opportunity cost neglect. So when we make a decision, we very quickly forget what we're missing out on because we don't like it. We don't like to miss out. We don't like to be wrong. So you need to make it unignorable and in their face what by looking at the wrong numbers could mean. So if we keep focusing just on ROI and we forget about all these other really important things, this is what it could mean for us. So give them the data. And then I think Florian talked about this as well, decision paralysis. We've all been there. You give me too many choices. Actually, I probably just do nothing because I don't know. So give them one clear, well-researched route that is super simple that they cannot not buy into. So let's wrap this up. The customer journey is what should underpin your tracking metrics. And you uncover the customer journey by talking to your customers, talking to your potential customers, that audience, and researching your channels and knitting the two different types of data together. And this insight is going to show you what's important to your customer. And if it's important to your customer, then, oh my word, it must be important to you, because that's the only way the two of you are going to meet. So the metrics that matter become those dials to unleash performance. They're your leading indicators that tell you, are we actually going to achieve the ROI we want to achieve, rather than just focusing on this number that's like a good news or bad news or somewhere in the middle. But to do this well, you're going to need to bring the business with you. You all need to be chasing the metrics that matter, because if you're on your own chasing it, it's going to be a really hard slog, and you're going to end up with difficult conversations. So everyone needs to be together. So, a tiny shameless plug, I feel like I'm allowed. We've got a roundtable event on this topic happening next week. It's next Thursday, so not long, and I've only got about 5 places left. But it's the Tower Bridge, and you get a free tour as well, which is lovely, and breakfast. And I like my food, so I promise you it'll be good food. This is just for brands, so sorry to any agency friends. But if you'd like to come, follow that link, but kind of by today/tomorrow, because we're confirming numbers. So we'd love to see you there. If you want to know more, come chat to me. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, although LinkedIn is spelt with an F. What happened there? Again, 48 hours, I'm going with it. And you can download the slides, or maybe, I can't even pronounce it. I was going to say it's a new channel I started. I don't even know what's happened there. Anyway, you can find me. We've got the links and the QR codes. You can download all the slides, and thank you ever so much. So, I now need to pretend I'm not Becky and wrap up the day. But thank you so much. We've had some amazing speakers today. It has been absolute top-notch quality. A lot of our speakers are still here, definitely the ones that have just been on stage. So if you've got questions, come up to the front, chat to us. If you're here for the next couple of days, then you'll see some of us around, and I hope, plan your days. Today's been easy, you've just been in here. The next 2 days, you've got tons of tracks and so many different talks. So your homework for tonight, I mean, I've given you lots of homework, but your homework for tonight is to make sure you've planned your next 2 days if you're still here. And yeah, just thank you so much. You've been a lovely audience. Get home safely, and yeah, I hope to see you at a future event. Thank you.